Hello ladies and gentlemen, Dave Dobbs here of the birthday party. Now I've got some very exciting news for you. It seems the birthday party is going to be at Glastonbury Festival this year. And not just Glastonbury Festival, we're going to be in Shangri-La. And more specifically, we're going to be in the House of Commons. As it seems, Shangri-La is all about political parties this year. You know, when we put the original proposal to Shangri-La and we heard about this whole theme of politics, we were thinking, wow, how could we capture the sort of House of Lords ruling over the House of Commons through all these various secrets of, let's say, a sexual nature? And so we've got lots to think about. You know, I could talk about the lineup that we've got on the House of Commons, but it's not about that right now. Now you think about Shangri-La and what it really is. Shangri-La is the original Traveller's Field. You remember the days of the Battle of the Beanfield when Margaret Thatcher was very angry with all these hippies and pagans and travellers that all descended on Stonehenge. They descended every year for big celebrations to celebrate our pagan history. And of course Margaret Thatcher didn't like it because the people were coming together. And that threatened a minority government. And of course they were big free party movements back in the day. And of course those big free party movements have sort of turned into big sound systems. And those sound systems, many of them turned into big record labels, didn't they? And of course now the biggest growth industry outside of weapons is the music industry and the entertainment industry. That is what you call evolution. It's not weapons and war and guns and depleted uranium and death and all the rest of it. It's people coming together because that's what the music industry does. And if you look at which is what happened with Sunrise Festival that got shut down 24 hours before it was about to start. They didn't have a chance, did they? You take away the license at the last possible moment. How many people lost their money? How many people have been cleaned out of that? Why? Because the current agenda is terrified of people coming together. And of course, what does people coming together mean? It means democracy, demo, people, crassy, combining form coming together. They're terrified of that. They're absolutely terrified of that because the music industry plays into that. It brings the people together. When we think about what happened after the Battle of the Beanfields and all those travellers, they couldn't get into the Stonehenge, so they came to Glastonbury, and so those riots continued in Glastonbury and they took hold of the Travellers' Field. And of course Michael Eavis was quite disappointed at first, but then he started realising that this was a real movement and this was real people. And so he finally said, actually, no, they can have that field. They can have the Travellers' Field. That's going to be devoted to the travellers and this whole movement. And Shangri-La is the continuation. It turned into the Travellers' Field and then it turned into Las Vegas. And of course it continued with Debs Armstrong, who continued that field, and she turned what was Las Vegas into Shangri-La. And so Shangri-La is now devoting this entire year to political parties, satire, and to try and get you involved. But it's nothing if you don't get involved. It's nothing if you don't have your say. So think about what you do as a political party. What would you be? Would you like to come as a lord, as a lady? Would you like to come as a politician, as someone who buys and sells politicians? Would you like to come as a whip, as a chief whip? You could come as a cream whip. I mean, I just don't know where you're going to go with it and what you're going to do with it. But it's an opportunity for you to come along and get involved. We're not talking about anger. We're not talking about revolution. We're talking about evolution. We're talking about the unrepresented masses, the disenfranchised masses who have no voice in this process. And that's probably you. You're hearing about David Cameron wanting to get rid of human rights. Why does he want to get rid of human rights? Because human rights stand in the way of corporate profit. You see, you can't frack the land and stick drills in the land and pump chemicals in because it pollutes the water. And one fundamental human right is the right to clean water. So they have to get rid of human rights so they can pollute the water, because you can't frack without polluting the water. Look what's happening in California, outside of all the spin that you're hearing. The fundamental truth is that right now, with this drought that's hitting California, all that water that they sold to the fracking companies, that they then pumped into the water table, because there was nowhere else they could shovel this polluted water. And now there's no more water for them to drink because of a massive drought. And that toxic, polluted water is all the water that's left, that's now being sold to the Californian people. That's the only water left, the polluted water. The exact scenario they promised would never happen. It's exactly happening. This is the situation that's playing out. And of course, the whole of Shangri-La this year is being devoted to this whole theme. Even Bears of Happy Mondays is going to be there. He's got his own special venue. All the venues are there, going to be focused on political parties. It's an opportunity for you. You see, Shangri-La has always been about you, the people, to come along and get involved and express what you've got to say. And so this is the platform for you to come and do that. So unless you get dressed up, unless you actually get involved, it means nothing. You see, yes, we've got music there, but the music means nothing unless you get involved. Don't just come and be a boring punter. Come and get dressed up. Get into the whole theatre of it. Right now I'm wearing the very yellow suit I wore when I first ran for Mayor of London. And don't misunderstand me. I didn't pay the £10,000 to run for Mayor of London. I don't agree with a process that takes 60% of our electoral power and gives it over to one person. That to me is wrong. That to me is basic feudalism. It's a complete and utter reversal of our natural evolution. It tries to reverse something so that it safeguards the corporate profits. And I don't agree with that process. That's why I've always run. That's when I wore this suit and I lived outside the Guardian. They never covered me for one moment. I was like I did not exist there. And it wasn't until Oliver Rowe, a food critic, saw Boris Johnson coming up to the side of my pink rickshaw, and he didn't even know what it was. No, certainly the Guardian wasn't going to report on the fact that I was actually running for Mayor of London, living outside the Guardian, because they're part of this agenda as too. As much as it breaks my heart, I know that there's people in the Guardian that really want to represent people like myself and people like yourself. Like, we know how this game works. This massive story that the big corporate media is pumping has got nothing to do with the 8 and 10, nothing to do with the disenfranchised masses. So we're trying to reach out to you so you can get involved. So you've got a platform to come and say. Like I say, it is not revolution, it's evolution. Come and express what you've got to say. Come and get dressed up, because this is a big step out to try and reach out to you to come and express it. Express what you've got to say, because guys, this is really happening. We have a government that is obsessed with war, obsessed with depleted uranium, obsessed with a toxic energy crisis, when we know we've got all the solutions just waiting for us. But we are not allowed to go there because we have no representation. We need proportional representation in this country, or we're going to go off the edge here. We know it's not good. We know that all this money that the governments are making is directing it all into weapons, and then not directing it into you. So you can do wonderful things. They're keeping you down, keeping you suppressed, so you have no voice in this. And so we're trying to reach out to you to come and get involved. It's there. It's waiting for you. I can only hope, I can only pray that you're going to rise to this challenge and see this opportunity as a place for you to come and express how you feel about this. Because it needs to happen, doesn't it? Something needs to happen. It's over to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about our lineup right now. This is all about you and what you can bring to this. It's all about you. What have you got to say? Hopefully we're going to see you at Shangri-La this year. And hopefully we're going to see you in full colour, dressed up to the high heels, in whatever you feel is the best way to express how you feel in this process, when you are totally unrepresented. When you see David Cameron doing these horrible things, just driving us into this horrible state where it's all about corporate profit and nothing else. There's no bigger picture. There's no bigger awareness. It's an obsession. And you've got to take your stand. And that can be a very colourful, theatrical, satirical process. And hopefully you're going to rise to the challenge. Speak to your mates. You've got Facebook. We've got the House of Commons on Facebook. You can post your videos of what you're going to bring, what you're going to be, what you're going to do, what you're going to say, what colour you're going to bring to this whole process. Because this whole field is devoted to this process. And it needs you to get involved. I'm calling for you. I'm asking for you. We all are. We're trying to give you a platform to come and say, the unrepresented masses, come on people. We need you.